Sienna is a 4-year-old girl who, was completely normal and had no major health problems. And I got a call from her daycare one day while I was at work, and they told me that she had just started screaming for no apparent reason. And for about 15 minutes, this went on, and she was completely unconsolable. She was laying on the floor and hitting her head on the floor. And then finally, they were able to calm her down, and they said she just went completely limp and started vomiting. And so I told them that I would be right there, and I went home and picked her up, and I took her in, and they did a CT on her, and they saw that her brain had active bleeding. So they immediately rushed her in an ambulance to Children's of Dallas, and they ran a second test there and found out that she had had a aneurysm rupture and was very close to losing her life. And from that point on, it was just kind of a series of events to stop the bleed, to remove the blood that was already there, to let her brain expand and heal, and then start the recovery process. So you kind of dig deeper than you ever thought possible to pull yourself together and, give that strength to them. And then I was fortunate enough, I had this amazing husband who was there to support both of us. And I have a mom and dad that were there every day. My mom didn't leave the Dallas area for the first month that Sienna was in the hospital. She was at the hospital every day with me, making sure that I was okay as I was making sure that my little girl was okay. And I think the strength, a lot of it comes from the family, and it comes from your friends, and it comes from your faith. And everybody that came into her room prayed with us before they left. And I prayed every night when I went to bed, and I prayed every morning when I woke up, and I prayed all day long that the people that were around her, were making the decisions that were best for her. And then you just kind of hold on to that hope, and I think that hope gives you strength that you need to make it to the next day. The Facebook page was started by a friend of mine while Sienna was still in the hospital, and I didn't get the chance to look at it much while she was there. It was really hard to see the pictures that were being posted, and when I struggle with her recovery, I can look back on that page and see how far she's come and see all the people that are still actively praying for her. And now the pictures that are posted are typically mine, or pictures that I've posted that I've shared to her page. And it's as much a thank you to the people that were on there praying for her as it is for me to go on and be blessed by it. I can't even thank the people that I know and the people that I have never met that I still get messages from, that still comment on her page, to thank them for even the little pieces of encouragement, because those little pieces add up to huge motivation to keep going and to keep fighting and to keep cherishing the time that I have with my daughter, because not all stories end as well as hers did. And we are so fortunate and so thankful that for the life that we got to keep, and that life may be different, but it's still ours, and she's still ours. One of my favorite things that I got was from a mom whose son was being discharged from the hospital. He had been in a car accident a few weeks before Sienna's arrival, and he had finally gotten to a place where he was going to get to go home. And she said that what had held her together were all these Bible verses, and she had them in these plastic slip covers. And she goes, listen to what the doctors say. She's like, but do not lose your hope. She goes, and whenever you feel like you're losing your hope, she's like, you look at these verses. She goes, and you find your strength, and you just know that regardless of what they say, that God has you. And so I took those, my favorites, because she gave me so many, but I took my favorites and I put them up all over her windows in her room. And then when we left, I found somebody to pass those on to. Sienna is making a really, really good recovery. From a physical standpoint, if you saw her, you would never know that anything had happened. Her hair has grown over her scars, and she's running around, and she's loud, and she's goofy, and she's the same silly little girl she always was. For a while, there was this vacant look in her eyes, and it was just kind of the cognitive recovery process where you're just hoping to see your kid, and all you get is kind of this blank stare, like she's there, but she's not really. And it was devastating for a while, and now we've moved past that to where there's light in her eyes and there's humor there, and she's teasing and she's playing. Cognitively and emotionally, she still struggles. For a little girl who, in her mind, she fell asleep, and when she woke up, her whole world was different. She couldn't sit on her own. She couldn't eat food the way she wanted to. She couldn't walk. She couldn't do any of the things that she could before she fell asleep. Takes a toll emotionally on a child. So she does some therapy, some play therapy that's been really helpful for her, and it helps her talk about her fears without really talking about being scared of things. And she has come a long way, and that I think that's opened her up to kind of just get back to being the little girl that she was. Our biggest prayer needs right now are that we can wean her off of the anti-seizure medicine. She hasn't had any seizures since the bleed was active, so we're hoping that we can get her off that medicine, and then that's one less thing that she's dealing with that has side effects of its own. Luckily, a 4-year-old, 5-year-old now, its brain has plenty of empty space to rewire. So just continue to pray that her brain fixes itself, and that she continues to heal, and that her emotional scars kind of fade away too. When I think about how lives have been impacted by what's happened to Sienna, I think more about how Sienna has impacted other people than how I have. I think what people get from me is that you appreciate your children more. You take more time to spend with them, because in the blink of an eye, they can be gone. But Sienna has shown people that you can fight through just about anything. And somebody told me that my little girl went to sleep a princess and she woke up a warrior. And I believe that. And I think that she has shown that if you're willing to fight, you can get through anything.